Okay, welcome to this section, and let's go ahead and really get started. I'm going to click on CCW, Connected Components Workbench, and then we're going to sit here and wait for up to a good solid minute, because this thing is not a fast loading program. That's because it does a lot, it has a lot, there's a lot going on under the hood. It's very capable software. The only thing it's not capable of is simulating one of our programs, unfortunately. So we are not going to spend a whole lot of time in here. I do want us to get in. I do want you to practice laying down some logic and at least be familiar with this environment. That way, if somebody ever comes up to you and tells you to program a Micro 800 series PLC, you're not going to be intimidated. You're not going to be scared to do it. You'll be able to actually say, yes, I've got some experience with that kind of programming. So I want you to have that. But unfortunately, any program you write, unless you happen to have a PLC laying around, you're not going to know if it works or not. So you're just going to have to settle for familiarity at this point. Anyway, in this section, let's go ahead and figure out what it takes to set up a program. And this is not hard stuff at all. So whenever you open up CCW, you're going to be looking at a welcome screen just like this. And we want to come over here and go ahead and click on New. And we get an option up. What do we want to call our project? So we can put in a name, and I'm just going to call this Demo 1. Why not? And we can put that wherever we want. I like to put things on the desktop. That way I know exactly where they are and they don't get lost. And then we have this option down here to add device on create. Well, without a device, your program doesn't really do anything. So let's just pretend that you have a device, and we're going to go ahead and add it. So leave that checked and hit create. And it's going to crunch, it's going to think a little bit, and then we're actually going to be able to choose our PLC, but we can actually choose some other hardware. So really, we're not just creating a PLC program, we're really setting up a whole system in here. So that's pretty cool. So now we've got our little catalog menu up. First thing we can do is go into controllers, and here's our Micro 800 series of controllers, and I'm just going to go for the biggest one, so the 850 and the one on the bottom. So I'm assuming that's probably the biggest one. It looks like it's got the most I/O. And over here on the right, it actually tells us what this processor looks like. I mean, it shows a picture of it. That's pretty cool. And tells us what this thing comes with. So, like I said, very neat software. And I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then if we wanted to, if we're working with, motor controls, we can come over here and there's all kinds of drives that we could connect up and add to this thing. We've got safety relays, light curtains, so we've got different devices that we can add as well. We've got motion control, soft starters for motors. Come over here and we can even add an HMI. So, if we wanted to add a component screen or if we wanted to add just a standard panel view, we can do that right over here. For now, I'm not going to worry about all of that because, we're not trying to program HMIs and everything, but I do want you to know that that's all in here, and that's why this software is so big. You can actually program these things in this environment. So let's go ahead and take our PLC and hit Add to Project. And once again, it's going to do some thinking. All right, so now we've got a first kind of screen here showing us our system. And now on the left, we've got something useful in our project organizer. We can see our programs, global variables. So our global variables, that's going to be basically our tags. Then over here, check this out. We've got user-defined functions and user-defined function blocks. Those are about the same thing, but just think of a function as being a little bit simpler than a function block. If we've only got one output coming out of it, then we could go ahead and call it a function. If we've got multiple different outputs and, you can enable it, disable it, then let's go ahead and think of that as a function block. But otherwise, those are about the same thing, and I would say probably you're just going to use function blocks most of the time anyway. So there we can actually set up our own, and you remember we did that under 5000. We created our own function block to control the mode of our system. Well, we can do that in here as well, and we've even got a nice handy list of our data types right here. So double clicking on that, and we can actually see what kind of data types we're using. All very cool stuff. And then to create programs, all we need to do is come up here and right click on Programs, Add, and we've got 3 different paradigms in this environment. We've got structured text, ladders, and function block diagrams. So I could go ahead and click one of each, and unfortunately this software relies on the icon to tell you in the menu what kind of program it is. So that's not something that I'm a huge fan of. I would like it if it was a little bit more explicit, but as long as you can see this little tiny box right over here, that's what's going to tell you what kind of program you're working with. So program 2 is a ladder, program 1 is supposed to represent structured text, and program 3 down here, those are your function blocks. So just like that, we've got ourselves a program set up, and we're ready to go into the programming environments. So let's go ahead and leave this lecture off here. That's all I really wanted to cover with you at this point. And when we come back, we're going to just lay out a little bit of logic, describe a system and how we want to program this. Then we're going to come back through and we're going to write basically the same extremely simple program in all 3 of these paradigms, which you should have a familiarity with at this point. And then we're going to, as quickly as we came into this section, we're going to get back out because we don't want to spend a lot of time on software that we can't emulate. Then we're going to come back to Automation Builder and we're going to just whirlwind through that. But for right now, that's what we're going to do. So get your project set up, poke around the environment a little bit, see what it can do. Finally, you can put your hands on something, and that's a good thing. And we'll see you in the next lecture when we're ready to start talking logic.